All right, this is a crazy one. I did a lot of prep for it. Here we go. Buckle up. Okay, so I was inspired by the Shadow Generations Sonic Movie 3 DLC because it kind of looked a lot like an edit I made in the past. So here is a comparison, right? So the Sonic one I made on this channel way back, so go look for that. I'll link it here. It's really cool because we're seeing Sonic Team's version of basically what I was trying to do, which is implement movie Sonic in a game context, which see how much bigger the eyes are, right? We're flipping back and forth between them. Let me zoom in and out. No, do not delete that layer. Just so you guys can see. Now, we're going to move on. We're going to go back in time to the adventure era. Shadow, we're going to use Sonic X. And Sonic, we're going to use Sonic Adventure 1. Look at how they contrast in rounded edges and angles, right? Sonic's points are still sharp, right? They don't look pillowy because they don't kind of square out near the ends, kind of like banana-like. Whereas these are more triangular, but they're more curvy than what we see in modern Yuji Kawa art, which is far more angular, right there. We can see how his facial structure is much more angular. Now, Shadow has that angular already. And I personally like the contrast between these two, but you know I always talk about contrast in Sonic. Here's my video on voice acting where I bring it up quite a bit. So now we're gonna work our way up, where I take where I got to this one. I wanted to make sure before I went into a final design, I wanted to look at both the modern models. So these are the closest to the poses that I use. No ads, no ads, no ads, no ads, no ads. Fuck. Ads. Yeah, we want to see that cool scene. That's what we want to see. All right, yeah, you didn't think I could pause it. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that we could also look at the actual modern models as we go through this, right? So we get the dynamic composition in 3D space that we get to see in Shadow Generations Dark Beginnings. My thoughts on that here. Yes, it's very connected to what we've been talking about. I've also talked about these models in a video. Link here. Oh gosh, there's too many links. So I wanted to retain the shape language used in the X for Shadow and the Sonic Adventure for Sonic. I wanted to retain the benefits of everything, along with the realistic materials found in the movie designs, right? Because I do really like how Sonic's fur is reflected in the light, right? So I retained that in my gamified version, and Sonic Team did as well when they interpreted it in the movie design here, right? So I really want to retain all the benefits. So I'm now going to show you guys my design. We're going to start with Sonic, of course. We're going to flip over to it, make sure I don't... Where is it? No. Oh, there it is. Oh, jeez. Thought I deleted it. Okay. We're going to give myself some extra time because of that. Okay, so there's the Sonic design. We're going to give myself just a couple of extra seconds, but see how once again, I stylized it. I stylized this design, but I wanted to use the shape language to communicate the sharpness of Sonic's quills. However, to justify the fluff around him, we can put this back on. Justify the fluff around him, I added I did something to his silhouette, okay? I did something to his silhouette. However, hear me out. That's inspired by, not only the top part is the inverse of the arrow on Shadow's head, but it's also, if you look at all three of the triangles on his cheek and the one on his forehead, it resembles the silhouette of Metal Sonic. It also matches the shape language in the arms. So I used the arm stripes from Shadow. They're a little bit thicker and bigger and go all the way around his forearm. However, I really do like Sonic having these blue shoulders, right? We've always seen the weird arm socket. In fact, since I have all this examples here, right, that does something, right? That limits animation in certain areas. And Shadow has always had the benefit of being able to have shoulders. So I wanted to give Sonic that benefit in my redesign. So I obviously gave him the movie shoes because they're more flexible, right? If you literally look at modern Sonic shoes as we know them, they just simply cannot, they don't look bendable, right? They do not look flexible, and that just simply does not match with what Sonic is supposed to do and what we want to see him do. So we want a model that allows Sonic to present the qualities that he's known for, and that makes it look more satisfying. Those look like they're made of metal, and I haven't really seen them bend in many ways. I'm pretty sure they just bend quite a little bit. We're talking about like all different angles, which a running shoe normally does. Okay, I'm gonna run out of time, so I gotta go over to Shadow. So Shadow, this is my updated design of Shadow. Now I gotta mute the bottom layer just so you can see him better. So we retained that angular stuff that we've seen in the Sonic X Shadow design, right? but we can also see him painted in 3D space. I did it a little bit with X shadow, but we get to see how light reflects off of him and how he can still be used in a dynamic 3D environment, right? So he's got that shoulders, he's got a little bit bigger of a chest. We should probably just put the actual Sonic on too, so we can look at them together. But the general idea is that they're angular where they're supposed to be, right? Look at the contrast in their faces, right? Definitely one looks more friendly because of how rounded it is, and it's rounded when it needs to be, whereas for the actual modern Sonic model as we know it, he's for some reason very square. His head is very square-like. I'm definitely gonna go over time. So see how his chin gets a little bit more square, especially around the mouth, right? See how it's just simply longer, and the divots underneath his eyelids don't go as deep, right? It's just more of a square shape, right? But then at the same time, the actual quills are all puffy and rounded, which is part of why I added those little spikes on his cheek and one on his forehead. Because now we have the benefit of, see, that would be what he would looks like silhouette-wise from the front. So now when we have that weird kind of pillowy situation going on that we're seeing in this modern model, right? From a certain angle on the other side of his face, right, the left side there, it looks kind of pillowy and rounded. But those are supposed to look sharp. So I wanted to simultaneously justify the angular lines on his arms, but also reference Metal Sonic, but also reference Shadow, but inverse, but also help improve his silhouette and its functionality, or what his functionality is in multiple different scenarios. So it seems like a good idea just because it has a lot of benefits. Shadow I had to do far less to. It was really just adding those angles back in. So that is basically it. I don't know how much time I went over, but this one has been really tricky. The B-roll has stopped for a very long time. There it is for a couple of seconds, but I simply have run out of time. This one was an unusual one. You guys know from the channel that I am oddly obsessed with redesigning these characters. I've done a whole series on perfect redesigns of every single character, but I'm really happy with these designs. And thank you guys so much for waiting for the past couple of days, because I literally have spent the past couple of days doing that. And what I've learned from all of it is that this is hard, right? Seeing me bounce between all of those different designs, right? You can probably see how it's trippy, right? I had to spend an entire day just absorbing the way that these characters look, their facial features, right? Getting the mouth size just right. It is not easy. Someday on a stream, I'll show you a time lapse of how long that took. But because the characters are so simple, the sizes of everything matter so much. And I'm sure you noticed that when you looked at all the comparisons. I tried my best to line them all up perfectly so you could see. Anyway, I'm way over time, but sometimes we bend the rules. But it made me concise. I did this multiple times, hitting the target, and it ended up being better for it. So I'll see you next time. Peace.